Hello and welcome to the Gooner Talk. Back again with you guys for another show for our Wednesday pre-recorded show. Of course, those of you know that I am working full-time now in writing, and my Wednesday schedule is that I work from 2 till 11 in the evening. So I cannot put out the usual evening content on a Wednesday, so I will be doing this pre-recording for you guys. Now, I did earlier on today, which I'm actually doing next, so I'm doing a bit of a time travel scenario here, do a preview for the Dundalk game tomorrow. So if you haven't checked that out already, please make sure you click back into the video schedules on the channel and check that out. But today we are here to talk about Yves Bissouma, who is the Malian midfielder for Brighton. And I did an associated article with this on 101. Link is in the description if you would like to check that out. But I thought what might be good also is to provide with you guys a video in which we talk about Yves Bissouma, a little bit also around Arsenal's need to invest more heavily in the Premier League talent, and go ahead and to look into the statistical, analytical, and of course with expert insight too. So let's get straight on with it. So Yves Bissouma is a name in which I'm sure you will be aware of. He's actually quite famously known for the meme that went around at the end of a couple of seasons ago, laughing at Arsenal missing out on the Champions League football. I don't think he was necessarily laughing at that, but it was certainly painted out to be that way. So you may have seen that clip. If you are offended by that, I'd put it to one side, because we're talking about a very quality midfielder here that could definitely add something to Arsenal's midfield. But before I go into the expert insight, we're going to be joined by Jeremy Smith to talk about Yves Bissouma in a lot more detail. What I want to do is just briefly mention, and I go on to talk about this a lot more in the article that, as I said, is in the description, that Arsenal are in desperate need of investing in Premier League or just English League talent. Players with Premier League experience, players that have proven in the current level that they can match the demands of the league. For too long, Arsenal have invested heavily in players like Shkodran Mustafi, Pepe, Xhaka, Lacazette. All these players, whilst have added an element to Arsenal, some more than others and some especially less than others, but also it's important to think about the fact that these players have come from abroad and have needed to transition, which is fine in some cases. Some players in the Premier League, like Bruno Fernandes, for instance, does it fantastically well. Others have not worked so well. And that is where Arsenal need to try and then skew the way in which they look at the market to looking at the Premier League and Championship, and maybe even below that in terms of some really young talent. But to get some quality talent in, we need to be looking within our own league and maybe down to the Championship at some stage as well. And I think that January presents an opportunity for Arsenal to do that, with Yves Bissouma at the heart of it, alongside other players like Emi Buendia, which we will cover in a later video, I'm sure. The last thing that I want to say is that when I wrote the article on 101, a couple of the responses that I got were that Arsenal are in desperate need of creativity, and suggesting a player like Bissouma isn't necessarily going to add anything to that. I disagree with that partly. I do think that if you add the players at the base of the midfield to build as a foundation, it improves the way that you can then create on from that. And there's a bit in the passing of Bissouma that I'll go into in a bit. But it's not just about Bissouma. Arsenal need to invest in other positions, and I'm aware of that. And Emi Buendia, I feel, is someone that could do that, along with, of course, Dominic Szoboszlai. So there are a few options for Arsenal to go for, but today's video, I want to focus on Bissouma. And to kick things off, let's get the expert insight from Jeremy Smith, who of course works for French Football Weekly and has worked for The Guardian and done things for Get French Football News, which I know that you're all aware of, as well as the fantastic Modern Footballer magazine, which I've been involved with Drew as well. So let's hear what Jeremy has to say. You can find him on Twitter at Jeremy Smith98, and he's going to tell us, as a French football expert and Brighton fan, what he thinks of Yves Bissouma.
Bissouma's kind of rise to the top has been a little bit of a slow burner. He already was showing really good signs of his talent at Lille. His last season there was a little bit kind of inconsistent, because the season started with Marcelo Bielsa just having a complete nightmare at Lille, and the rest of the season was spent sort of trying to play catch up and for the team and for Bissouma as they tried to avoid relegation. It ended with them staying up, in great part to an unbelievable free kick from about 40 yards from Bissouma in the match that pretty much sealed their safety. He moved on to Brighton, and the first couple of seasons were a little bit stop-start. His first season there, to be fair, he was suffering from injuries. I think he maybe dislocated his shoulder, or he definitely had problems with his shoulder. It was also Houghton's last season with Brighton. Houghton's style probably didn't really suit Bissouma, and the team as a whole was struggling as Houghton kind of lost the changing room. So then last year under Potter, although actually he got fewer minutes than Houghton's previous season, there were definitely signs as the season went on of him settling into the team. There were moments sort of kind of in the first half where it looked like basically what we'd seen of Bissouma up till now, like clearly lots of talent, but very, very raw, maybe not enough sort of tactical discipline. But under Potter, he really is blooming. He's improving his kind of tactical nous. And this season, he's pretty much been faultless. Definitely one of Brighton's best players. He had that unfortunate sending off against Newcastle, but otherwise has played every game, generally in a midfield two. Brighton have sort of been playing a 3-4-3 or 3-5-2, depending on how you want to look at it. But it's really playing to Bissouma's strengths. I suppose he could be a defensive midfielder, but for me, he's a lot more just an out-and-out central midfielder, box to box, can do a little bit of everything, can run all day. He's tall, he's strong, he's decent in the air, really good tackler, very comfortable on the ball and happy to dribble it out, break the lines that way, or he's got a nice range of short and long passing. Arguably, the only fault as he's ironing out his sort of tactical play and positioning, concentration, all of those are improving. And possibly his only fault is that he doesn't have a little bit more, I guess, willingness to push forward, because he has got a good pass on him. He can find a good little opening, and he's shown like he doesn't score tap-ins, let's put it that way. As we saw in the last match of last season against Burnley and in the defeat against Everton this year, he's got a cracking shot on him, and he should probably try his luck a little bit more often, although that's a big fault of the Brighton team in general, I think. So, yeah, really fantastic central midfielder. I have to say, in terms of the Arsenal rumours, I haven't seen a lot of Partey, but from everything that I have seen and heard, to me, they're relatively similar profiles. So I don't know if moving to Arsenal to sort of play backup to Partey is necessarily a good move for Bissouma, although as an Albion fan, obviously a little bit biased. I think I'd be pretty surprised to see Bissouma move in January. Like I said, he's very settled in the Brighton team. He's more and more important to them. I think it would have to be a hell of a lot of money for Brighton to part ways with him in January. But certainly if he maintains his current form and keeps it going till the summer, I think Brighton may struggle to keep hold of him, but hopefully they'll make a good profit on him. For me, he's kind of really beginning to fulfill all the potential that he first showed when he sort of sprung onto the scene in Lille. And well, as a Brighton fan, I'm really pleased to have him and for him to be sort of fit enough and playing under a coach who really understands him, and for him to be flourishing. He's a really good character as well, by the way. He loves that he's got a chant for the fans, and just seems a good laugh as well. A great member of the sort of team spirit. And yeah, I mean, if Arsenal do manage to get him, like I said, I hope for his sake. I think he deserves to be a first team regular.
Thank you, Jeremy. StreamYard only allows for 5 minutes. He went on for 5 minutes and 3 seconds, but we had to cut the end of it off. But thank you, Jeremy, for that. I really, really appreciate you taking the time to help us out with today's video. And you can follow Jeremy at JeremySmith98 on Twitter, as I'm sure you already know. The key things you kind of take from that is that he's a very, very capable footballer that's doing a very good job in a Brighton side, which is... Yes, it's moving towards trying to fight away from relegation and push towards Premier League establishment every single season and sort of maintain that mid-table spot rather than fighting against the drop every season. And Bissouma's kind of allowed them to kind of gradually progress. Can he do that for Arsenal? It's a very different scenario, but we've seen players move from sides lower down the league, like Gini Wijnaldum at Newcastle, go to Liverpool and do well. They're different players, I know, but it's the case study that you need to look at. Now, on Tactical Breakdown, what we like to do is we like to go through some of the analytics in the statistics of the player. And so what you can see on your screen now is looking at the passing. Now, the immediate player that you think of within Arsenal's lineup next to Thomas Partey, where I feel Bissouma would play, is alongside Thomas Partey, is Granit Xhaka. And Granit Xhaka, I do quite a bit of comparison with in the article, which, as I've said, is in the description below if you want to read that and check that out. But I want to focus on some of the things that I pick apart in the article. And this is the passing map. These are the games from left to right against Burnley, Everton and Newcastle. And you can see these are the passes into the final third in those games. Not the passes he made during the game, otherwise that'd be very few. But these are the passes that he makes into the final third. And what you can see is that there is variety. Against Burnley on the left-hand side, we've got a lot of passes into the central area. We've got 4 of them. And then we've got passes going out to the right-hand side, 3 of those, and then 1 to the left. And that shows the variety that he likes to pass through. Centrally is something that's really key for Arsenal. And this is kind of where we get to the idea of, can a player that's playing deep add to Arsenal's creativity? And we have got a drought of passing going through the centre of the pitch, and Bissouma is a very capable player of adding that. But also he can really utilise those wide areas. He shows that in the game against Everton, which you can see in the middle, especially to that right-hand side, and out to the left-hand side. And then against Newcastle, again, we've got a little bit more focus on central areas, and we've actually got a key pass which set up Aaron Connolly, who ran through for an opportunity in that game as well, so showing that he does actually possess the qualities to provide those kind of clear cutting passes that you need. So let's take a look at those examples. In fact, I want to show you the key pass that I was talking about there. He receives the ball from the centre back, where you can see there with the solid white pass. When he receives the ball in the deep part of the midfield, he has options. He can pass back to his centre back, quite negative. He can move it out to the right hand side to the right fullback, or he could pass it to Neal Maupay, who's just come slightly deeper to receive the ball, like we see with Alexander Lacazette do now and again. And I don't particularly want our deep midfielder to always be doing that, taking the ball and passing it on straight away. We have had players that did that really well, like Santi Cazorla, but Santi also had the ability to carry the ball, and Bissouma has that too, and that's what he does in this scenario. He carries the ball forwards, he pushes in towards the halfway line, he spots the run of Aaron Connolly, and he plays a fantastic ball over the top to meet him. And this is the type of thing that we really need to be focusing on, our midfielders having these qualities, the ones that are going to be progressive, the ones that are going to carry those balls forward and play them into advantageous positions. But we need these deep players not only to attack, but we need them to be able to defend, and we need them to be able to break up play. And this is where we get into looking at where Bissouma plays on the pitch. So his actual position, as we've said, is a deeper midfielder, but you can see from the heat map there that he does like to progress. He does like to move into the opposition half and try and win duels and win tackles all over the pitch. It's a very far spread heat map that you can see there. While there is a little bit more intensity on the right hand side, you can still see the spread and the area of coverage of the pitch that he actually gets. And that also shows the amount of duels that he wins. You can see on the screen now the duels won and lost against Southampton from left to right, Liverpool and Aston Villa. The one against Southampton on the left especially shows a massive coverage of a really large area of the pitch, even going into the opposition's half. He doesn't win all of them. In fact, he wins just under 50% of the duels that he gets involved with. But the point is that he's getting involved with these, and I know that there are some that are lost in the opposition half, but he actually wins just over 53% of his duels in the opposition half when he does win them, which is excellent. So of the duels that he wins, if we go through that one more time, if it made sense, of the duels that he does win, 53% of them are in the opposition half, which is a really fantastic stat to have, and to know that you can turn an opposition's possession in their own final third into an attack of yourself, and that's a really nice complementary element to have. Against Liverpool, he was slightly more pressed back and slightly more reduced in terms of his coverage of the pitch, and he gets a little bit more out into the wide left areas when it comes down to the match against Aston Villa. But the point is that he is able of winning duels all over the pitch of his coverage, and that bleeds into how good his recovery pace is and his acceleration. Something that Granit Xhaka really lacks is speed and mobility. Bissouma does not. Bissouma is someone that has a really good coverage for acceleration and speed on the pitch, and we can show that in a couple of examples. So if we have a look at the example against Chelsea here, in which Timo Werner has run down Chelsea's left-hand flank, Brighton's right, and has easily got through into that position. Now Bissouma catching Timo Werner is a challenge. Like, he is a quick player to deal with. And you can see Bissouma is well behind the German forward in this scenario. But he catches up to him really well and wins the ball back for Brighton too. It's not just a lunging dive in, it's a calculated tackle which he wins back. But it's not only in these positions where he does really well in terms of tracking back and winning the ball, but actually his discipline and his position is really good. This example here against Crystal Palace, you've got Jeffrey Sloop, who wants to run at the Brighton defence. He's got options, but Bissouma's positioning here kind of cuts off that opportunity to pass to the two Crystal Palace players to his right, and he's only really got that option to pass to the option on the left. But what Bissouma does really well is he forces Schlupp to run at him, and then he forces him out into a wider position where he can close the gap and then wins the ball back for his team. And he does this time and time again. His positioning is great, his tackling is great, it's not lungy, he does it really, really well, and it's calculated and it's well timed. And it's something that I think Arsenal should really genuinely look at. If you want to know a little bit more about the statistics and you want to know a little bit more about the facts around Bissouma, as I said, please do go check out the article, which I've left a link for in the description. I really hope you've enjoyed this kind of deep dive and look into Yves Bissouma as an option that Arsenal could pursue. Is he going to solve Arsenal's creativity problems on his own? No, nowhere close to doing that. Is he going to help to build that foundation, add to that quality next to Thomas Partey that we need? And obviously with Thomas Partey's fitness issues that he's been facing this season, which is a discussion for another day, he's also providing that quality replacement as well if we need it, and he's that quality player that can be in there, that we're not just shackled into using Xhaka or Elneny or Ceballos. He adds something that all three of those players have separately, and it combines a lot of their qualities into just simply one player, which is great. Arsenal need to look at adding additional creativity, and we're going to talk about that in a later video. But I hope you've enjoyed today's video. I really genuinely hope you have, and if you have, please make sure you drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you're new around here, and turn notifications on so you never miss a show. Make sure you please check out the preview show, which would have been live earlier on today, which I'm now going to record next. Yep, time travel. We do it on the show quite a lot, and it's exciting. And apologies for wearing a hat indoors. I'm sorry that it's rude, but it's getting to the stage now where I've not had a haircut for so long, the Elvis Presley hair is starting to form. So the hat is necessary, 100%. But we'll see you again very, very soon. And as always, up Arsenal.